The topic for my presentation today is on lung aging. So aging is a progressive impairment of tissue, organ or organ function resulting in increased vulnerability to environmental challenges and a growing increase of disease and risk of disease and death. In the census, Indian population census taken in 2001, it is estimated that 7.4% of the Indian population was of age greater than 60 years. And it is estimated that by 2021, this percentage will increase up to 10%. So in the aging population, there is an enhanced predisposition to lung disease, decreased reserve of respiratory system function, which decreases the ability to cope with stresses like illness, injury, and surgery. They also differ in their responses to therapy. So now we come to changes in various parts of the respiratory system. We'll start with the upper airways. So the elderly have impaired cough and gag reflexes. This is due to degeneration of the sensory and motor cortex. The diminishing of the cough and gag reflexes causes aspiration of oropharyngeal and gastric contents, and also these sensory impairments can increase reflux esophagitis. GERD is also exacerbated by esophageal motility abnormalities, which are also more common in elderly. Now coming to the structural changes in the lung. So thoracic cage, there is an increase in the AP diameter of the thoracic cage and rounding. This is also known as a rounding shape of the lung. Elderly are also predisposed to developing vertebral fractures, which predisposes them to develop kyphoscoliosis. Now we come to changes in conducting airways. The cartilaginous airways increase in size, and this increases the anatomic dead space. However, functionally this is insignificant. Also, calcification of cartilaginous walls of central airways occurs, and there is hypertrophy of bronchial mucus glands. Ciliary motility is also decreased in the elderly, which predisposes them to increased LRTIs. Now we come to changes in the lung parenchyma, and this is called ductectasia. After the age of 30 to 40 years, the respiratory bronchioles and alveolar ducts undergo progressive enlargement. The proportion of alveolar ducts increases and the alveolar septa becomes shortened, leading to a flattened appearance of the alveoli. So the distance between the alveolar walls, that is called as a mean linear intercept, increases. The surface to volume ratio of the lung decreases. The alveolar surface area decreases by approximately 15% by the age of 17 years. This process is previously referred to as senile emphysema. So now here we are showing us, this slide is showing a histopathological representation of a lung at 30 years of age and at 90 years of age. As we can see, the space between the alveolar walls is increased in a patient of 90 years of age. Now we come to the changes in the mechanical property of the lungs. So there is a decrease in the elastic recoil of the lung. On the right hand side here, we have a graph which plots on the y-axis lung volumes, and on the x-axis we have transpulmonary pressure. So transpulmonary pressure, lung volumes are plotted against transpulmonary pressure plotted against different lung volumes ranging from the residual volume up to the total lung capacity. And as we can see here, this is the curve of a normal young individual, and this is a curve of a normal older individual. And as we can see, there's a left shift of the curve. This left shift is exaggerated in a patient who has emphysema. So why does the recoil of the lung decrease with age? So two forces come to play. One is the surface tension at the curved air fluid interface of small airways and alveoli. And the second force is a retractive force due to the stretching to the fibrous skeleton of the lung. Now we come to changes in surface forces. So that because of the decrease in the lung surface area, there is a reduction in the gas fluid interface, and thus this reduces the surface tension. And there is a decrease in the total lung recoil, and this thereby affects the function of the intraparenchymal airways in the alveolar gas exchange. Now we come to changes in structural macromolecules. So the bronchial tree and lung are composed primarily of elastic fibers, and these elastic fibers are composed of proteins called elastin. These proteins are hydrophobic and highly cross-linked, and they are very elastic macromolecules. However, the structure or function of these elastic molecules change very little with age, and hence they are also known as long-lived proteins. This contributes substantially to the lung elasticity. Now we come to changes in the chest wall. Calcification of articulation of the ribs with sternum and spinal column occurs, and this reduces the compliance of the rib articulations. This reduces the static compliance of the chest wall and hence demands a greater work from the respiratory muscles. Now we come to changes in the muscles of respiration. Decrements in the muscle strength and endurance occurs in old age. However, an important point to remember is that continuous respiratory muscle activity has a training effect, and hence preservation of respiratory muscle function and endurance can be achieved in these patients, in the elderly. Coming to the control of breathing. So, when an elderly person is exposed to hypoxia or hypercapnia, they had diminished response to both. As we can see in this graph, on the y-axis we have minute ventilation, and the x-axis we have partial pressure of oxygen. So in a normal individual, as the partial pressure of oxygen is reduced, there is a proportional increase in the minute ventilation. However, this is a plot of to check for the similar responses in the elderly, and as we see, there is no proportional increase in the minute ventilation in these patients. Now we come to changes in tidal volume. So in the elderly, they have reduced response of ventilatory drive and neural output from the respiratory center when hypoxic or hypercapnic, and hence the tidal volume responses are also diminished. Next, we come to respiratory load compensation and dyspnea. So inspiratory flow resistive loading of both young and elderly were done, and elderly did not show a change in the ventilatory drive to hypercapnia. But however, they perceive dyspnea, the intensity of dyspnea, more than a young individual. Elderly also are sensitive to respiratory depressants and opioids. When we come to changes in the pulmonary circulation, a minor increase in pulmonary artery resistance and age-related increase in pulmonary artery wedge pressure has been noticed. However, this may not be physiologically significant. Now we come to pulmonary function tests. At outset, I would like to say that pulmonary function and exercise capacity both decline with age. So, lung volumes, cross-sectional studies have showed that TLC, the total lung capacity, declines slowly with age. Height may be a confounding factor for this, as height tends to slightly reduce in the elderly. FVC declines with age at a rate of 21 to 33 ml per year in men, and in women 18 to 29 ml per year. The RV by TLC also increases with age. So what are the factors that lead to increase in RV are the loss of the elastic recoil of lung, decreased chest wall compliance, decreased expiratory muscle force, and increased small airway closure. It's also known as air trapping. The functional residual capacity also increases with age. Closing volume increases from 10% of total lung capacity at 20 years to 30% at 70 years of age. The causes for this are the loss of elastic recoil, decreased recoil of intrapulmonic airways, and decreases in small airway diameter. So here we have spirograms in individuals with ages varying from 0 to 80. As we can see, there's an increase in functional residual capacity, closing capacity, and the residual volume. However, the total lung capacity doesn't change very significantly with age. Now coming to airflows, all expiratory airflows tend to reduce with age, and the reduction in flow is more evident at lower lung volumes. Here we have the expiratory limb of the low volume loop in a young and elderly individual. This is the this is what we see in the elderly individual, and this is in a young individual. As we can see, there is a space between the two curves, and the space widens further as with lower lung volumes. So FVC and FEV1 tend to both reduce with age. The rate of FVC and FEV1 reduction tends to be greater in males, in taller individuals, and those with greater baseline values, and individuals with greater airway reactivity. Airways resistance. Upper airways resistance, the size increases and smaller airways decrease in size. Hence, upper airway resistance reduces and lower airway resistance increases. But overall, the total airway resistance does not seem to change with age. Now we come to gas exchange. So the membrane diffusing capacity reduces with age, and so does the pulmonary capillary blood volume. And hence, as these are both components of DLCO, DLCO is also reduced with age. So while interpreting PFT, we must take to note that predicted values may not be representative of the elderly population, and hence a caution must be exercised when interpreting PFT in the elderly. Now we come to exercise capacity. So VO2 max and maximum work capacity both decrease with age. VO2 declines at about 1% per year. So as we see on the graph on the right, we have on the y-axis we have exercise capacity, and on the x-axis we have age in years. And as we can see in both men and women, there is a decline in the exercise capacity with age. However, as mentioned previously, both men and women, they respond to endurance and resistive training just as a young individual would. So what are the variables that associated with decrease in exercise capacity? They are decrease in lung mass, increased fat mass, increased ventilation at each workload, increased oxygen cost of breathing, a sedentary lifestyle, decreased training intensity in active persons, and decreased willingness to work to maximum level during tests. We also have a reduced tissue oxygen delivery. This is due to decreased maximum heart rate, stroke volume, and decreased maximal oxygen difference in the arterial and venous blood, which is also seen in elderly. Decreased cardiac output is a major contributor to age-related decrease in exercise capacity. Now we come to airway and lung inflammation. So as we discussed earlier, these elderly patients have a impaired cough, and they may have worsening GERD, and their effectiveness of ciliary motility is reduced. And hence there is increase in the load of particles and microorganisms in the airways and in the lung parenchyma, and recurrent aspiration also occurs. This increases the parenchymal and airway inflammation. Just notice that in elderly patients, bile taken in elderly patients showed more percentage of neutrophils as compared to those of younger age. Now we come to sleep. In the elderly, the number of nocturnal awakenings is increased, which reduces the total sleep time and efficiency. NREM sleep is also seen to increase in the elderly. So these are some of the factors that affect sleep in the elderly. We have medical factors such as chronic illnesses, nocturia, sleep disorders, and alteration in TSH and cortisol levels. Mental factors such as bereavement and depression. Lifestyle factors such as use of alcohol, use of hypnotics and sedatives, and a sedentary lifestyle. External factors such as exposure to light also play a role. In conclusion, there is a decrease in the elastic recoil of lung and reduced static compliance of chest wall in the elderly. The elderly have a diminished ventilatory response, tidal volume, and poor respiratory load compensation. Lung function and exercise capacity decline with age, and we must exercise caution when interpreting PFT in the elderly.